Hi guys, it's me ChazzaHD and welcome today to the most important Saturday of any Formula 1 season, Saturday at the Monaco Grand Prix, and this weekend of course it is the 2021 edition of the Monaco Grand Prix, and what an exciting day it's going to be. First in practice 3, which gets underway as you can see in just under 15 minutes time, to see where the teams are and how close it really is, which I expect it to be very close in most of the field. And then in qualifying, of course, we have just an amazing battle throughout the grid, and it's going to be a very exciting session later on. And really, this session and qualifying combined are going to be absolutely thrilling. And we're definitely going to see, I think, some surprises today, as we'll get into in a moment with the results of practice 2 on Thursday afternoon. There's definitely going to be some surprises today. I have no doubt about that. Whether they happen, we'll have to see on that. But we're definitely in for a thrilling day of action. This is definitely the most exciting day of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. So make sure, guys, today to stick around on the channel for what's going to be a thrilling day. Hopefully you guys are doing well in whatever part of the world you are watching from, no matter what time it is or day it is. And yeah, hopefully you are doing well, and hopefully today you will watch along with me this session, practice 3, which again gets underway in just under 15 minutes time. Now, talking of practice 2, which took place on Thursday afternoon. If you don't know the results, I did actually watch the session for once, practice 2. Normally I catch up on it later. But yeah, if you don't know the results, then here they are. They were very, very interesting. So it ended up, and we knew Ferrari were going to be quick at Monaco. We knew that. But we did not think that in practice 2, Ferrari would have a 1-2. Of course, it's only practice 2, not representative of what's going to happen in qualifying. But Charles Leclerc was P1, of course, at his home track. Carlos Sainz second, Lewis Hamilton third, and 0.4 of a second behind Charles Leclerc. It'll be fascinating to see, especially in practice 3 now the engine modes have been decided. It'll be fascinating to see if Ferrari can still maintain not that type of pace, but still be right there with Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Perez. It'll be very fascinating to see if they can keep that up. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton third again, 0.4 down. Then Verstappen only 0.7 of a second behind Lewis Hamilton in 4th place. Verstappen, though, did have a lot of traffic in practice 2. So did his teammate Sergio Perez. That's why Perez is down in 8th place. And then you got Bottas 5th, Norris 6th, Gasly 7th, Perez 8th, Giovinazzi 9th. Very impressive there. Sebastian Vettel 10th, impressive by him. Raikkonen P11. Alonso P12, and then Stroll, Ocon, Ricciardo, Russell, Latifi, Mazepin, Schumacher. And the reason Yuki Tsunoda ended up in 20th was not because he was really slow. It's because at the beginning of the session, when he was starting to set lap times, he hit the barriers and got damage on his car that was not able to be repaired in time for Tsunoda to get back out on track. So if you are a Yuki Tsunoda fan or an AlphaTauri fan, then don't worry. His pace is, I won't say it's great or very good or even good. We'll have to see, I think, in this session to get a good indicator as to where he'll be in qualifying. But he's not, he's not going to be down there with Haas or Williams, I don't believe, in this session. Let me just adjust this picture. There you go, of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. But you have to practice 2, I think. And going into this session, and I'm just looking at the Monaco track at the minute, it's a lot colder, probably, it's going to be today than it was on Thursday, because it is a very cloudy day at Monaco. Of course, on Thursday, it was a very hot and sunny day. But yeah, the biggest talking point coming from Thursday practice was the pace of this team on the screen, Ferrari. Again, we expected them to be quick here because they had showed in sector times other tracks where there were lots of corners that they were very, very good, and they were right up there with Mercedes and Red Bull. So it wasn't a surprise that Ferrari so far have been quick. And even if they are very quick today and say Charles Leclerc qualifies in third place, that would not be a surprise for me because we've seen that potential since the season started. What we're going to be looking out for today, though, is can they actually get pole position? If they are within, say in practice, they don't top the session because Hamilton and Verstappen and Perez and Bottas, show, or, Mercedes and Red Bull in general, they show more of their representative car speed. If they can still be at the end of practice 3 with Mercedes and Red Bull surely improving, once, they're pushing a bit harder. If they could be still within a tenth and a half, then I think that's close enough, without doubt, to be in serious contention for pole position. I mean, Charles Leclerc, again, was 4 tenths quicker than Lewis Hamilton in practice 2. I do expect Mercedes and Red Bull to be much quicker in this session because they have a lot more to lose in terms of if they have a reliability issue. That's why they don't tend to push their power units so hard, or as hard as, say, a Ferrari would at the moment in practice 1, practice 2. So I am expecting, again, Mercedes and Red Bull to be definitely pushing harder with their cars in practice 3, and they really do have to, again, because they have to use the engine mode that they've decided to use for the rest of the weekend, that single engine mode. Yeah, if they could be within a tenth and a half, then without doubt, they're in contention for pole. And if Charles Leclerc can produce a magic lap, which we know he can because he has done so many times in the last 2 years since he joined Ferrari, and gets pole position, then he absolutely, I think, could and probably would win the race. So this could be Ferrari's big chance to break their, year and a half drought when it comes to race victories. Their last race win was Singapore 2019, where, of course, Charles Leclerc was on pole there, another street circuit, where he produced an incredible lap that he even made a couple mistakes on and still ended up getting pole position. So we'll see what he can do around this street circuit. Of course, he's not, in the past here, Charles Leclerc had a good result. 2018, he didn't qualify that well. I mean, the Sauber wasn't that good of a car around here, so he couldn't really do that much and ended up getting crashed into by Brendan Hartley and ended up pointless. And then the last time we raced here in Monaco in 2019, Ferrari made a massive mistake and he got knocked out in Q1 because he was simply too slow and they didn't let him go back out to improve his time, which if he did, he would have got through. And then in the race, of course, he ended up making contact with the barrier and was out after, 10 laps or so. So in terms of pure, what's happened at Monaco for Charles Leclerc in Formula 1 so far, he's not really had one good thing happen. So it's almost like, if he does have a good result here today, then it's really going to be his first Monaco Grand Prix of note for him, because the previous 2 Monaco Grand Prix for him have been pretty poor in terms of not the performance. I don't think the performance has been poor by him, but just the result and just how things ended up going. I think it's just been pretty poor for Charles Leclerc. But like I said, I am expecting Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen to respond today, because Mercedes and Red Bull will definitely be pushing a lot harder. And Lewis and Max were pushing very hard in practice 2 and looked very, very good. Max Verstappen, like I said, in practice 2, Max had a lot of traffic. So did Sergio Perez. So I think the Red Bulls can go quicker as long as they get in clean air. Because there was many times that Verstappen would come round Ras Kass into the final corner, which is Anthony Nogues, and Raikkonen must have held him up 4 or 5 times because Raikkonen would just be sat there at the final corner waiting to start a lap, and it would always be Verstappen coming across him. So, yeah, I think Red Bull, definitely look out for them with their single lap pace today. Normally, so far this season, doesn't really matter what track it is, their single lap speed tends to be stronger than their race pace compared to, say, Mercedes. So definitely expecting Red Bull to be right up there. And Lewis Hamilton, of course, will be right up there because it is Lewis Hamilton. And then after that, after, say, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, who are clearly the top three teams this weekend, and Ferrari, probably for the first time since 2019, have rejoined that top three, clearly ahead of the rest, gaggle. After that, it's very hard to say who has the quickest, say, midfield car. I mean, of course, you had Pierre Gasly up in 7th place, but Tsunoda was down in 20th. Alfa Romeo looked really good in 9th and 11th, but I'm not sure if they can maintain that. Aston Martin actually looked pretty decent, who, of course, are on screen right now for you. McLaren didn't look too great, but they do tend to improve a lot on a Saturday compared to what they do on a Friday or Thursday, depending on what day, of course, the practice 1 and practice 2 is. So it's very hard to say in the midfield who's going to end up coming out on top. I still think after, again, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, I'd have to say it's most likely going to be McLaren and Pierre Gasly, say, rounding out the rest of the order with probably an Alpine sneaking into the top 10. Maybe even an Alfa Romeo or an Aston Martin, we'll have to see. But I still think McLaren probably, when everything is nailed together, I still think they probably have the best overall package out of anyone else in the midfield. Again, though, after Ferrari this weekend, because this weekend, Ferrari are not a midfield team. They are a front-running team, without doubt. It's not going to last, of course, because when we go to Baku, I expect Ferrari to be right back in the midfield because Baku will not suit their car whatsoever. So, Ferrari, if it's actually possible that Ferrari can win the race this weekend, then they need to absolutely go for it and make sure they don't make mistakes because, I mean, yeah, next year maybe they'll come up with an amazing car and they'll be right back up there again, but nothing in Formula 1 is certain. And again, it's not certain that Ferrari are going to just be right up there next season, so if there is an actual chance of winning the race this weekend, then they need to, again, go for it and try and get it because no guarantees that they'll be winning plenty of races next season with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in their team. But we have about 2 minutes to go, guys, until practice 3. Let me just quickly, if I can't actually see anything in the live chat for some reason, so I'm going to try and go to the actual stream itself, because for some reason my live chat on my dashboard is not working. It's not showing anything. So let me just look to see what you guys have to say. Nello Angelo says good morning all. Miss Marquise or Keese says hello. Hello to Rooksfoot, Michael Arvin. Great to see you all there in the chat. And Infinite as well, who says Perez is in trouble this weekend. No qualifying mess-ups allowed today. But hello to Vishnu. Walter Wanami, I think it is. He says excited for this. So I definitely am as well. Yeah, I'll try and read your comments out, guys, during the stream. But like I said, at the moment, on my live dashboard, it's not showing it, so I'll have to maneuver a different way to try and read your comments. But yeah, we've got about 30 seconds to go, or I think it's actually just over that because my timer in terms of counting down to the session starting is never accurate because it's not absolutely on the dot with how long is to go. But of course, it will be accurate to how long is left in the session, all of that, and I'll get that stuff ready for you guys now. So yeah, let me just get that all ready. So that order, by the way, on the left hand side of the screen that you see, that is not, of course, the running order. That's just the basic order of the teams. Of course, I will change it around very quickly during the session when times are beginning to be set. So yeah, and then we'll get this ready as well. And if you are unsure, practice 3 is an hour-long session. All practice sessions now are an hour-long session. Of course, practice 1 and practice 2 used to be an hour and a half. Now it's an hour. So, yeah, just letting you guys know that. If there is anyone here new to Formula 1, just letting you guys know that practice 3 is an hour long. I just want to say, though, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because we will be live later on for the qualifying watch-along at 1:30 p.m. UK time, which is in about 2.5 hours from now, and then the race preview later on at 6 p.m. UK time, and of course a race watch-along tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. UK time. So don't forget to subscribe for that content coming up later today and tomorrow. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my channel page and do it there, and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. And also don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can, as we've got I think we are... Oh no, that's the wrong... As you can see, it's frozen. I'll have to just get rid of that a minute, because that's a bit frozen. There you go. And I'll re-show that in a moment when there is actually 59 minutes to go in the session. There's no cars on track at the moment, and to be honest, doesn't look as though any cars are going to come out on the circuit. So yeah, there's no cars on track so far. As nice to see. By the way, not even nice to see, great to see. And of course it is a street circuit, so you'd expect there would be people there watching to a certain extent, because, you know, many people live there, so they'll probably just be watching from their homes. But it is great to see the fans back at a Formula 1 Grand Prix. I mean, we had the Bahrain Grand Prix where they allowed in fully vaccinated people and health workers, I think. But after that, we've had no spectators. Well, actually, the Spanish Grand Prix, the race day in Spain, we had about 1,000 fans, I think. But really, for an entire Grand Prix weekend, we've not had spectators. So it's good to see that as the COVID crisis, at least in Europe, gets better, and it is getting better, I believe. We're still not there in Europe, but like I said, it's getting better, and hopefully race by race we can get closer to normality in terms of a Grand Prix weekend and in terms of spectators being at the circuit. I mean, the next race in Baku will probably be similar. There will be fans there, but not in a massive amount. And then, of course, you've got the French Grand Prix and then 2 races in Austria. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that. I'm not quite sure of the COVID situation in Austria, so I can't comment on that. I know in France it's improving, but I don't expect them to allow that many fans into that Grand Prix. Then, of course, the British Grand Prix, which takes place on I think it's the 17th and 18th of July, which is in, just under 2 months from now. There is a big possibility that that race will have a completely full attendance, because the COVID situation in the UK is much, much better than it is on continental Europe. So there is a great chance we could have a capacity crowd at Silverstone, say 200, 300,000 people. I know people might think that's unrealistic, but yeah, the COVID situation in this country has improved massively and is going definitely the best out of any of the European countries. As Kimi Räikkönen is on track. The first car on track actually locks up, warming his tyres up, going up Casino Square, the Casino Square hill. He's on the soft compound tyres, of course. Remember as well, of course, we have this, soft, medium, hard, like we do every weekend, but the softness or hardness of the compounds does change every weekend. This weekend, they have brought the 3, of course, softest compounds. So the C5, C4, and C3. So the C3 tyre, the hard tyre of this weekend, is last weekend's, the last 2 Grand Prix weekends, soft tyre. Which, of course, those races in Portimao and the Circuit de Catalunya, they brought the hardest compounds, which I think, honestly, was a mistake. They probably should have brought step softer. As well, Antonio Giovinazzi is also now on the circuit for Alfa Romeo. And we'll see what Alfa can do. Raikkonen coming up to Raskas. Hopefully doesn't go into the pits. Here he comes, Raikkonen. And no, Raikkonen will start a lap, which is good news, of course, for us. So Kimi Raikkonen comes onto the pit straight, and let's see what Kimi can do. Alfa Romeo looking pretty quick in practice too. Very close to the barrier on the exit of Saint-Devote. Turn 1, of course. Very close to the barrier, riding the exit curb even, right next to the barrier. Yeah, Alfa Romeo were very quick in practice too. Be very interesting to see if they can maintain it. It would be actually, I think, if they could maintain it, it'd be a great thing for their season. Because, really, Alfa Romeo should be right there, if not ahead of Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship. Because they've been closer to points more times than not. They've really been unlucky when it comes to that. So, hopefully, this team can bag some points very soon. As all Raikkonen through the second part of the chicane. And he backs off now. Through the second part of the chicane, just the car did not seem to want to turn in to go through the exit of the chicane. So, bit of a worry there for Raikkonen. As we also have now Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, and Nikita Mazepin on circuit. For, of course, McLaren, AlphaTauri, and Haas, respectively. As now we're looking at Antonio Giovinazzi, I believe. Yes, we are, on his first flying lap as he comes down to the Nouvelle chicane. And his car looks much better through the Nouvelle chicane. As Raikkonen does set a lap time, but it's not very quick because, again, he did back off. As now both Haases are on circuit. And Giovinazzi is... I mean, I wouldn't say he's pushing as hard as he will in qualifying, but this is more, by the looks of it, of his onboard camera, this is a banker, I would say, just to get his eye in for later on, as Carlos Sainz and George Russell now join the circuit. And of course, Giovinazzi does go up into P1, so let me just update that. Yeah, let me just update that quick. Giovinazzi in P1. And then it is Kimi Raikkonen's Daniel Ricciardo, by the way, starting his first flying lap of practice 3. We'll see what he can do. And yeah, so it's Alfa Romeo 1 and 2 at the moment, of course, with those two being the only teams to have set a lap time so far. As Ricciardo comes to the first sector. And does not do a purple first sector, interestingly. And here's a replay of Raikkonen. And I think the reason he got a bit out of shape during the chicane, I think they just showed on the replay, I think he might have clipped the inside barrier for the Nouvelle chicane. Which is actually... I mean, if you drive the track on the F1 game, it's very easy to do. But these F1 drivers, I don't think ever really do it. As Ricciardo goes through the Nouvelle chicane, definitely looks a lot better than the Alfa Romeo through there. As he now comes into the back and now into the swimming pool, probably the best part of the circuit. And looks great through there. And now comes into Raskas. And car looks fine. And car looks fine as well through Anthony Nogues, as he'll get a good slipstream from the Williams car ahead. And Ricciardo goes up to second. Behind Antonio Giovinazzi. So let me just put Ricciardo up into second position. As Carlos Sainz Charles Leclerc we now see, who is on track. Also Norris, Gasly, Latifi on circuit. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, of course, also on that soft compound of tyre. As Yuki Tsunoda goes up to 4th place. Nikita Mazepin goes up to 5th. Let me just update that. And Mazepin up to 5th. I'm sure Mick Schumacher will probably displace him in a moment. As Charles Leclerc starts his first flying lap of practice 3. Let's see if the man who was quickest in practice 2, whether he can emulate that here in practice 3 as well. I don't think, no, he's definitely not pushing that hard with hit. No, he's not. He's doing a bit of a cool, well, not a cool down, a bit of a warm-up lap, I guess you would say, as Kimi Räikkönen goes back to second, and Carlos Sainz, I've just seen, is up now into 5th position. Mick Schumacher into 6th. Of course, plenty of people have not set a lap time or a competitive lap time as of yet, so that's why I'm saying that Mick Schumacher is up in that position. Tsunoda continues to improve his lap time, but it's still 2 and a bit seconds off Giovinazzi's pace, so lots of warm-up laps going on out there on the circuit, Charles Leclerc being one of them. I'm sure we'll get some representative times in a moment. As Kimi Räikkönen now goes up to P1 by half a second from Antonio Giovinazzi. We are still, though, 2 seconds at least off the pace. As Carlos Sainz now comes through the middle sector. He's only 0.003 of a second up on what Kimi Räikkönen has done so far. So, and Sainz now comes through the final corner. Sainz should go into P1 because the Ferrari in the final sector especially is very quick. And he does go P1 by about 1/10 of a second. So Carlos Sainz is now up into first place from Räikkönen, Giovinazzi, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, and now Russell is up in 6th place. As here comes Yuki Tsunoda and stays in 5th place, does Yuki Tsunoda. And you've got Charles Leclerc in, well, I was going to say in 9th place, but now you've got Lando Norris up in 5th, I believe. Yes, you do. So Lando Norris is now up to 5th. You've got Pierre Gasly now up there in 7th position for Alpha Tauri. So there you go. As P1, Charles Leclerc on a 1 minute 12.6 by 0.6 of a second. If he was 1,000th of a second slower, then he would have been quicker by a Satan of a second. As Pierre Gasly's on the medium compound tyres, interestingly, on his lap. As let me just update Leclerc up in position 1 now. As Fernando Alonso has gone up to 7th position in the Alpine. There you go, Alonso up to 7th. Giovinazzi now goes up into 2nd in the Alfa Romeos. Gasly gets massively held up by a Red Bull at the end of the lap. Massively held up, and that is the problem around Monaco. You can be on an absolute stonker of a lap and then get held up right at the very end, just as, you know, you've basically got the lap nailed. As also Latifi up in 12th, Mazepin 13th, and then the rest of the drivers have not set a lap time as of yet, so we'll wait to see what Stroll, Vettel, Perez, Verstappen, Ocon, Hamilton and Bottas can do. Talking of Lance Stroll, he has just gone up into 9th position. So, oh no, Tsunoda is actually in 8th, and then, yeah, it's Stroll in 9th, and now Sebastian Vettel in the other Aston Martin has gone up to 10th ahead of Pierre Gasly, as Carlos Sainz is on another lap on the soft compound tyre, and he's just under 1/10 of a second up on what Charles Leclerc has done so far on his lap, of course. Slight track of ahead, but he will get a bit of a slipstream, and Carlos Sainz goes P1 on a 1 minute 12.5 by exactly 1/10 of a second. So Ferrari's, the car's still looking good, but how does it look compared to the other top cars out there? We don't know as of yet, as Charles Leclerc's done a purple first sector. Car ahead of him gets out of the way of Lance Stroll, flies through to back, and he is 1/10, almost 0.2 of a second up on Carlos Sainz, his teammate. As Nicholas Latifi, by the way, has gone up to 9th place and Sergio Perez as Charles Leclerc comes into the final corner. Sergio Perez up into 10th position, and Charles Leclerc goes P1 by 0.3 of a second. That Ferrari, and Charles Leclerc especially in the final sector, is so quick. As Lando Norris, by the way, is up to 3rd, but Norris almost a second behind Charles Leclerc, as Antonio Giovinazzi, who is currently in P4, as Max Verstappen goes up to P5. What can Giovinazzi do? He is up on his lap, and he goes up to 3rd with a personal, or a purple rather, final sector. It's now Sky F1 go to an ad break, so I'll update that Max Verstappen is up into 5th position. So at the moment, as far as I know, again, we'll have to see when we come back from the ad break what Hamilton, Bottas and Ocon have done. But at the moment, with 15 minutes gone and 45 minutes to go in practice 3, it is Charles Leclerc leading from Carlos Sainz in this session. From Giovinazzi, Norris, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Alonso, Tsunoda, Latifi, Perez, Stroll, Vettel, Gasly, Russell, Schumacher, Mazepin, and again, Hamilton, Bottas, Ocon have not so far set a lap. So we'll wait to see what they can do. Very interested to see what Mercedes and Red Bull can do compared to Ferrari. But as I said, the lap times so far are not absolutely at their quickest. I think in practice 2, we were in the 1 minute... Was it the low 1 minute 11s, I believe? So we're still about a second away from where the cars can go, I think, in this session at least. And in qualifying, I'm expecting them to be in the 1 minute 10s, to be honest, for pole position. So yeah, we'll see what they do. As let me just quickly get the chat back up on the other screen. Again, I can't quite see it on my screen, so let me just have a look to see what you guys are saying. Let me just have a look. Just a fan, what happened to Max and Lewis? Again, they haven't done, well, Max has now done a lap, but Lewis Hamilton has not done a proper lap. Stephen Mooney, I am begging the rain gods to not throw us a curveball like the other times rain has been forecast at Monaco. I mean, it would be great if we had rain, because it really does showcase how good Formula 1 drivers are and why they are so deserving of being, you know, so highly paid. It really does show how great they are. And we do always get very exciting sessions around Monaco if it's wet, but we'll see. I mean, to be honest, for qualifying, a wet qualifying would be very exciting, but I want to see a dry qualifying. I want to see Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz right up there, duking it out in probably for quite a bit of time, the quickest Formula 1 cars of all time, duking it out for the most important pole position of your life, basically. Yeah, I really want to see that. I don't mind though rain for the race, but in qualifying I'd prefer it to stay dry, because again, I think we are in for an amazing qualifying later on, an amazingly close qualifying and competitive qualifying, especially at the front of the field, where it looks as though instead of 4 cars battling for the front positions, it looks like we have 6 this time, which would be, well, great if that does actually turn out to be the case in qualifying rather later on. So we'll see. Normally in Monaco we get the races which are wet. I can't remember, and I don't think there's been a wet qualifying in Monaco. I don't think there's been a wet qualifying in Monaco for a long time. Very long time. 20, 30 years? 40 years maybe? It's been that long from what I can remember. Anyway, we're back for the ad break, and Max Verstappen, just to update you, is now up to 3rd place. Had a Giovinazzi 4th, Norris 5th. Perez is in 6th place. Interestingly, Sergio Perez did that lap on a set of medium compound tyres. So that's a good lap from Perez compared to So the front midfield runners, as Perez now goes up to third, ahead of Max Verstappen. So there you go, Perez third, Verstappen fourth, and Giovinazzi fifth, Norris sixth, and then Raikkonen, Ricciardo, and now you've got Pierre Gasly up in 8th place, I believe. Yes, you do. It's Gasly 8th, Ricciardo 9th. Gasly, interestingly, also on the medium compound tyre and faster than Daniel Ricciardo, who's on the soft compound tyre. So Pierre Gasly also looking very good, as expected, because he's such a good driver at the moment. As, Ricciardo is in 9th, and Lewis Hamilton has just gone up to 10th place, but that's not quite, of course, representative of where Lewis Hamilton can go. Hamilton up to 10th. Lance Stroll has just gone up to 7th position. So let me update that. So Stroll up. Oh no, not Alonso. I've got it wrong. It's Lance Stroll up in 7th, as Max Verstappen now goes up to 2nd position. Just a 10th of a second behind Leclerc on the soft compound tyre, as we're very close now to the quickest time of practice too. So we're getting a lot more representative running in now. And then, Sainz third, Perez fourth, and now Valtteri Bottas goes up to 4th position here in practice. It's actually 5th position, in practice 3. And then it's Giovinazzi, Norris, Stroll, Raikkonen. And then it should be Gasly in P10. And then Ricciardo 11th, Hamilton 12th. And then you've got Sebastian Vettel currently in 13th place. Nicholas Latifi in 14th. And then Alonso 15th, and Tsunoda. And then Ocon only able at the moment to go up to 17th place. Russell 18th, and then Schumacher and Mazepin currently down, of course, towards the bottom, as you would expect from them. Let me just increase the size of this picture, though, and adjust it for you guys. There you go. Yeah, at the moment, everything a bit stable. Sergio Perez continues on this lap on the medium compound tyres, and he does improve his time, but it's not his position that does improve. He stays in 4th place as Pierre Gasly on the medium compound tyre goes from 10th up to 8th place ahead of Lance Stroll and Kimi Raikkonen, as Lewis Hamilton on the soft compound tyre has not done a purple sector so far. As he comes out of Anthony Nose onto the pit straight up to the line, and Lewis Hamilton goes up to 5th position in the Mercedes. So there you go, Lewis Hamilton up in 5th. Valtteri Bottas, who currently now down in 7th position now that Lando Norris has gone up to 6th, as Max Verstappen and Bottas has backed off on his lap. Max Verstappen, purple first sector on the soft compound tyre. Let's see what his middle sector time is like. Leclerc 52.5 for the middle sector. Verstappen a 10th up. So far, Max Verstappen absolutely on it. And looks as though Verstappen really could go P1 with this lap, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. And none so far that I can see through the final 2 corners. Verstappen opens the DRS, and Verstappen will come to the line. And he does go P1 by just under 0.2 of a second. So Max Verstappen currently in P1 ahead of Charles Leclerc in P2, but still very close up front, as a Ferrari now of Carlos Sainz, I believe, is on a lap. Just want to try and quickly read out a super chat that I have seen that I've got in the chat. Let me just quickly read that out from Michael Arvin for $4.99. Who says, Chazza HD, I am the next Mr. Walker. I am the best on the web. Thank you very much for that. That's definitely not what I think of myself. Definitely not. And by the way, for the person saying clickbait in the chat, just read the top of the description. says it all, really. And if you honestly thought I was going to show live footage, then, well, obviously, you're very new to, well, the internet in general. As Valtteri Bottas has improved his lap, but is still down, interestingly, in 7th position. As, Giovinazzi 8th, Gasly 9th, and Stroll 10th, completing the top 10 there. And Sebastian Vettel, interestingly, does improve his lap time, but not faster than Lance Stroll. He's about 2.5 tenths, quarter of a second down on Stroll. Very interesting to see what he'll do compared to Stroll, because Stroll, historically around Monaco, has been poor. 2017, he was very poor. 2018, in 2018, he was actually out-qualified by Sergei Sorokin. 2019, the Force India car in 2019 was poor. Or was Racing Point car, sorry. Stroll has not had a good weekend in Monaco, and a good moment in Monaco that I can remember. So it would be highly, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but highly shocking for Sebastian Vettel to be out-qualified today by Lance Stroll. But it would also show the massive improvement that Lance Stroll has made to his driving in the last year and a half. He's definitely a lot better now than he was during 2019, without doubt. As Tsunoda, by the way, up to 14th place. Just to update you guys, Tsunoda 14th, and then Latifi 15th. Alonso and Ocon in the Alpines are in 16th and 17th position. Ocon, though, does improve, but only to 15th. Where is the Alpine pace? I've noticed this not yesterday, but in practice 2 on Thursday. Alpine, I was thinking coming into this weekend, they should have a car that's just about getting, say, one of their cars into the top 10. They're currently 1 second away from getting into the top 10. They are, quite frankly, nowhere right now, as Carlos Sainz is on a new flying lap on the soft compound tyre, and he's done a purple first sector. Let's see what he can do in the middle sector. The Ferrari looking very good around the streets of Monte Carlo. Carlos Sainz is half a tenth up on Verstappen in the middle sector. Not a purple middle sector, though. He comes through the swimming pool. No problems through there. As Bottas half a second down on Verstappen after the first 2 sectors. So Bottas not really setting the world alight. As Carlos Sainz comes to the line and goes P1 by 0.03 of a second. Carlos Sainz now up to first in the Ferrari. Valtteri Bottas does climb a position or 2 up to 5th. So currently Mercedes 4th and 5th, half a second off the pace. There's 33 minutes to go, so plenty of time to correct that, as Yuki Tsunoda's now on an improved lap. But Mercedes so far have really not been as quick as I thought they would be. Again, there's plenty of time left, so let's not jump to any conclusion. As Yuki Tsunoda now rounds the final corner and will come to the line. Currently 14th, stays 14th, 2 seconds down on Carlos Sainz in 1 minute and 11 seconds, which is quite a lot of time to be losing around Monaco, again, because of how short the lap is. But Carlos Sainz is P1 by 0.03 of a second. Leclerc is currently sitting in P3, 2 tenths down. But saying that, Leclerc now on a new flying lap, and he's done a purple first sector. So we'll see what he can do, as the Mazepin has gone up to 18th place, ahead of Russell and Schumacher. And Leclerc now into back, and I think I might have missed a possible mistake from Leclerc, because his middle sector is quite slow. 2 tenths down on Carlos Sainz as he almost slides through Raskas. Hamilton also on an improved lap. His first sector is a personal best for him. Carlos Sainz, though, comes to the line and stays in 3rd place. So, yeah, I must have made a mistake that I didn't quite catch because I was updating the order. As Lewis Hamilton has backed off. And Hamilton, as Carlos Sainz comes out again on another set of tyres, I believe. I believe Hamilton will probably come back into the pits, as most people at the moment are in the pits. Sebastian Vettel, for example, is being wheeled back in. Here is Fernando Alonso, who looks like he's pushing. Car doesn't look very quick, though. He's 1.2 seconds off his compatriot Carlos Sainz after the first 2 sectors. So if he continues on this lap, this should put him around P11, P12. Opens the DRS, will get a slipstream from the Haas car ahead. And Alonso doesn't even do that. He goes up to 14th place. Lost 0.6 of a second alone to Ferrari in the final sector. Alpine are not quick. That is clear to see. Alpine look as though they'll be lucky to get both cars into Q2 at this rate, because they look as though they're probably the slowest midfield team, but still just about ahead of Williams and Haas. As the 2 Ferraris here, very close to each other. And now they come back into the pits. I don't quite know why they were so close to each other. Maybe they're doing some dirty air test to test how much time they lost. As both cars come in to be, I think, oh no, Charles Leclerc is re-released, and then I'm sure Carlos Sainz will come back out as well. As Valtteri Bottas is on track. Now Charles Leclerc. Gasly's on track, as so is Alonso, Tsunoda, Mazepin, and Schumacher. As Bottas is on a new lap. He has done an improved middle sector, but it's still not anything special. And now he backs off because of really bad traffic on the entry to Rascasse, which of course is the penultimate corner. As a Mazepin, interestingly, goes up to 15th place. I was just going to say, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell for this channel if you are new, because I will be live in 2 hours from now for the build-up and to cover the session itself of qualifying for the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix, a qualifying session that is going to be very, very exciting. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for that. And again, hit the notifications bell. You can subscribe by either doing it on the bottom right of the screen, where you can subscribe there, or go to my channel page and do it there. And as well, hit the notifications bell so you're notified as to when videos and streams, happen. And as well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. As Leclerc, I don't know if Charles Leclerc is going to do another lap or not. As I think, no, he's back into the pits. So I think they're just doing some sort of test here with Charles Leclerc. But at the moment, a lull in the action. So because of that, I will come back to the chat and to see what you guys are having to say about practice 3 so far. And let's have a look. Michael Arvin says, I need a definition. Where is the line between front runners, midfield, and back markers? Well, I'd say this weekend, I'd say the front runners would be Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Then the midfield would be McLaren, Alpine, not in this order, by the way, but McLaren, Alpine, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo. Who else? Aston Martin as well. Forgot about them. And then the back markers, I would say, were Williams and Haas. That's what I would say is this weekend. Let me see if there's any other comments here. Twilight 1964 says, as we all know, practice times do mean a lot. I'll be surprised if these times are representative when qualifying is done. Well, it's not the lap times that we're really looking at. It's just how people are compared to everyone else. Of course, they're going to be much quicker in qualifying. That's not the point. And it's so close that it's not going to end up, of course, in qualifying being the same result. But again, the most interesting part is to see where people are compared to their rivals, which is really what practice is about, because you're not going to know officially until qualifying So really, that's what it's about. And also seeing what the cars look like on track in terms of, are they a bit, do some cars have a bit of oversteer? Do some cars have a bit of understeer? Because that can point towards, what they're going to do in qualifying, so on and so forth. So, yeah, the lap times, they're not going to be what they are in qualifying, of course, and it's not going to finish exactly how it is at the moment. Carlos Sainz, P1 from Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Perez. But, like I said, it shows where the battles for, say, certain positions are going to be. Which I think at the moment you'd have to say, at the moment, I'd say probably the top 4 there, Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, are going to be the ones battling for pole position by the looks of it. Because, again, they're currently using, of course, the engine mode that they've decided to use for the rest of the weekend, because you can only, from now on in Formula 1, once practice 3 begins, you can only use one engine mode that you must decide upon to use for the rest of the weekend. So the only thing they could be sandbagging on is tyres and fuel. So I wouldn't really say it's not that unrepresentative, what we've seen so far. And that's really why I cover practice 3, because it's a lot more representative of a session now because of that role than it used to be. So yeah, that's why I cover practice 3 like I do now. Because of that engine mode thing, we do tend to see speed that most of the time does tend to translate itself into the actual session of qualifying later on in the day. So, I mean, yeah, I'd say it's representative to a point. Of course, not going to be entirely representative. Is practice. Let me see if I can find any other comments here. Boris Wason says, I think top 5 will be Merc, Red Bull, Ferrari. Leclerc P1, Verstappen P2, Hamilton P3, Sainz P4, and Perez P5, says Boris. That's my bets. And ask, will you do qualifying watch along? Yep, you must have joined must have joined after I said it, but yeah, about 5 minutes ago I did say that I will be live in 2 hours from now to build up to and cover qualifying with a qualifying watch along. So yeah, that will be happening. And if you are new, then yeah, don't forget to sub and hit the notifications bell so you can get here in time for the start of qualifying. Michael Arvin says Ferrari have not done well here since Michael left F1. Really, Charles could have won twice, but, well, not twice, once, let's be honest. I don't think he could have won in 2018 with a Sauber. But a failure and a crash, luck versus skill sometimes. I mean, yeah, Monaco, Ferrari with Michael Schumacher were very strong because the Ferrari team and car was very good, but also Michael Schumacher was very, great, let's be honest, around Monte Carlo. He wasn't the best driver of all time, I'd say, around Monaco. I'd say that probably is still Ayrton Senna, the GOAT of the Monaco Grand Prix track. But, yeah, since he left, I mean, 2008, they locked out the front row and could have won the race if they didn't trip over their own dick during that race. But yes, since then, it's been very hard for Ferrari to really have great success here. Of course, 2017, they had a 1-2 in qualifying in the race, but that was really a blip in their form around Monaco. Even in years where they've had cars that are front-running, they've not necessarily been on the podium. So yeah, I'd have to agree. Since Michael's left, it's not really been a happy hunting ground. As, by the way, Kimi Räikkönen has gone up from 11th to 8th place. Giovinazzi 9th, then you got Gasly 10th, and then Stroll, Vettel, Ricciardo, Alonso, Mazepin, and now Latifi in 16th, and then Tsunoda 17th, Ocon 18th, and then Russell and Schumacher. Interestingly, Latifi, and he has been throughout the session, quicker than Russell around Monaco. Who honestly would have thought that? And it's not just he's slightly quicker, he's 0.2 of a second quicker. So, yeah, that's a very, very interesting to see there. We'll see if that plays out in qualifying. I doubt it. As Pierre Gasly is on a lap now, finally on the soft compound tyre. If he can be P10 on the mediums, let's see what he can do on the soft compound tyre. As he's come into the tunnel now in the middle sector of the lap. As Gasly now into the Nouvelle chicane. Someone goes straight on and Gasly backs off, probably distracted by that car, which was a Ferrari, interestingly. I don't know what Ferrari it was. But yeah, Pierre Gasly has backed off in the middle sector. And Gasly, I'm sure, will go for another lap in a moment. As now we're looking at, I think, an Alfa Romeo. Yes, of Kimi Raikkonen on the soft compound tyres. Done a personal best first sector. Alfa Romeo, if you look at practice 2 and also practice 3, looks as though Alfa Romeo are right in the hunt there for a top 10 finish in qualifying. 9th and 11th they were in practice 2. Now they're 8th and 9th. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. Don't know what it's for, as Raikkonen is about a green flag now, so it's probably someone just going slightly off-piste, as Raikkonen, 0.7 of a second, down on Carlos Sainz through the first 2 sectors. That's pretty good compared to the Ferrari, as Raikkonen will now come to the line and does not have a good final sector. It's actually a final sector that he doesn't even do a personal best in, so stays in 8th place. As Russell, now in 19th, has done a personal best middle sector. We'll see what Russell can do compared to his teammate. The Williams car is not good this weekend. They're not going to be anywhere near getting a points finish. The only way they will is Russell goes ahead of Ocon for 18th. Yeah, the only way Williams will score points is if literally enough cars retire. As here's the yellow flag moment as a replay. Charles Leclerc goes into turn 1, locks the front left tyre, and goes straight on. Luckily, has enough control, and the Ferrari has enough grip not to go sailing into the barriers. We've seen in the past with Felipe Massa and Max Verstappen in the past few years, when you go in there into that barrier very quick, head on, it is a really nasty, crash. It really can be. So, thankfully, didn't hit the barriers there and can continue on his way. As Lewis Hamilton is going to start his lap in a moment, and Charles Leclerc is going to start a lap as well in a moment, and so is Valtteri Bottas. Is Carlos Sainz currently on another flying lap, and he's 1/1000th of a second up on his lap so far, which currently, of course, sees him in P1. As Carlos Sainz now rounds the final corner, opens the DRS, and Carlos Sainz improves by 1/10 of a second. So Carlos Sainz is... I think another person went off at turn 1 because I noticed that Carlos Sainz took to the pit lane exit line for turn 1. So I think someone else went off at turn 1. But Sainz still P1, but improves his lap time by 1/10 of a second to a 1 minute 11.3. As Lando Norris now rounds the final corner. Car looking very darty, to be honest, through Anthony Nogues. Up to the line, Lando Norris comes and goes P4. What a lap by Lando Norris. We've seen some very exciting pace from him as Ricciardo stays in 13th place. We've seen some very exciting pace from him in the past as a double yellow flag and a Williams car. Nicholas Latifi has done what many before him, and I'm sure many after him, will do. They've, on the exit of the swimming pool, gone sailing into the barriers where Max Verstappen did 3 years ago, where Stoffel Van Dorn did. Verstappen actually has done that twice at that particular corner, but Nicholas Latifi this time, for the first time in his career, and he'll hope the last time, crashes on the exit of the swimming pool section right in front of some of the fans there, and the red flag has now come out. Of course, the timer will keep ticking because it does in practice sessions, but because of how close we are to qualifying, I think Williams might struggle to get that car ready if it's done substantial damage to the car. Yeah, red flag and Latifi out of the car, and I think we'll know what it is that's happened. He's probably clipped the inside barrier and it's broke the suspension arm, most likely, and sent him straight on into the barriers just before, of course, the entry to the Ras Kass. As now, the Monaco Marshals, who I have to say are very good, probably the best marshals in Formula 1 at clearing cars as quickly as possible. So this red flag won't last very long, probably 5 minutes at most, I'd imagine. As the cranes here are also very, very good. And here is a replay, and Latifi, yep, he's going to turn in, and bang, crash and wallop right into the barriers right before, again, the entry to Ras Kass and the exit of the swimming pool section. Clips the barrier, and yep, he breaks the right front, not the suspension, but the wheel. And of course, it can no longer turn the way he wants it to turn and just sends him straight on. Very easy mistake to make, so he shouldn't feel ashamed because plenty of great drivers have done it. So, again, it's not something to be ashamed of, but it is something at this point of the weekend you don't want to be doing, because you're giving your mechanics a very hard task to rebuild that car and get it fully ready and working for qualifying, which starts in, about 2 hours from now. So, again, something that you don't want to be doing. You really don't want to be doing. And if you're going to do it, you might as well do it on the Thursday, when at least the mechanics have got 2 days to get the car ready. Let me just quickly, though, go to some different pictures for you guys. There you go, on screen. But, yeah, red flag at the moment. So let me just quickly come to you guys in the chat to see what you guys have to say about what's going on in the session. Let me just see. Boris also says, Boris Wason, if you discount the Haas, the Ferrari-powered cars are doing quite well. Well, the Alfa Romeo car, and you can tell in the last couple years, the Alfa Romeo car, technically speaking, has a close relationship with the Ferrari car. When Ferrari have been strong, Alfa Romeo have been strong. Where Ferrari have been bad, Alfa Romeo have been bad. It's, those two teams have a very close-knit technical relationship. So that's normally why that happens. I think Haas F1, they literally just have not developed their car at all, and they didn't even have it ready for the first Grand Prix, I don't believe. So Haas F1 are just sentenced to the back of the grid, I'm afraid. Another comment from Miss Marquise, who says, yeah, I think Leclerc will be on the podium. Yeah, I think Leclerc's definitely top 3 here. That's how I think it will go for him. I still think it's Hamilton and Verstappen for qualifying. I would love it, though, if Leclerc and Sainz were up there, because it would be nice to have variety and, of course, as many people as possible fighting for pole position. That's what we want in Formula 1. In an ideal world, all 20 drivers would fight for pole. But in Formula 1, we know that's not possible. But also, do not discount Carlos Sainz, because he is currently P1. And he's very good here in Monaco. He's had great results here. In 2016, he was very good here in qualifying, and I think in the wet as well. In 2017, he finished in the top 6. In 2018, it wasn't so great. But in 2019, he also finished again in the top 6. So do not discount Carlos Sainz at all. Let me look at some other comments here. Just one more from Michael Arvin, who says, okay, since we have 16 minutes, the reason I say that about you, Chazza, is you should believe it. Last week, I had to listen to other race calls. They were terrible. Well, that's your opinion. I'm not going to get into any of that. But, yeah, let's forget about what happened a couple of weeks ago. Let's concentrate on the future. Nothing you can do out of the past. Only thing you can do is make sure the future is brighter and better. As Verstappen, Tsunoda and Ocon have rejoined the circuit as the red flags have gone away. We have just over 10 minutes to go here in practice 3. Hopefully, some final lap times to excite us going into qualifying will be had here. As Verstappen, by the looks of it, is the first car back on track. So it looks as though Red Bull have sent him out there Of course, with no traffic at the moment ahead of him, to try, with that no traffic, to try and put in a lap that can get him into, of course, position 1, but give Verstappen more confidence going into qualifying later on. Do look out, though, for Sergio Perez later on, because Perez, who is currently sitting in 7th place, set his lap time on the medium compound, and the 2 Mercedes ahead are only ahead of him by 1/10 of a second on the soft. So look out for Sergio Perez as Verstappen cuts the corner at the exit of the swimming pool where Latifi crashed, and Verstappen will start his lap now. Yeah, look out for Perez because he's got pace. He had it when he wasn't being blocked in practice too, and because of that time on the medium compound tyre, I think Perez has got the pace here for a good finish. I don't think he's got the pace for pole position, but he's definitely got the pace for, say, a top 3, top 4, something like that. As Max Verstappen now on his flying lap, what will he do for the first sector? He is 1/10.5 down. He has not actually done a personal best, as he now comes into the very slow corners, what used to be called station hairpin, and now into the final 2 right-handers before the entry to the tunnel. A great part of the circuit, as Max Verstappen now comes bouncing down to the Nouvelle chicane. Car looks fine through there, slight oversteer on exit, as Verstappen for the middle sector has done a purple middle sector. He is still, though, 1/10 of a second down on Carlos Sainz, but he's on course to improve. Can he nail the final sector as he comes through? Anthony Noakes, the final corner now, opens the DRS. Let's see if Max Verstappen goes up to P1. He does not. He actually does not improve his lap time. Lost too much time, I think, in the first sector. That's what cost him in terms of the overall lap. As now you've got, I think, is this Verstappen or Perez, I think, trying to duke his way past the Ferraris on an outlap? I think it is. As yet, you got Perez, you got Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Perez, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Stroll, Vettel, Alonso, Mazepin, Tsunoda, Russell, Ocon, Schumacher on track. The only cars not on track are the 2 McLarens of Norris and Ricciardo, and of course Latifi, who crashed out. Now, we look at Sebastian Vettel, a man who has won the Monaco Grand Prix here previously twice, I believe, 2011 and 2017. He's not, compared to his teammates here, he's not been historically great here. And in his Red Bull days, I'd probably say Mark Webber probably was the better driver around this circuit. I think Sebastian would probably admit that as well. Sebastian did have great success here, but still I'd say Mark Webber was probably the stronger driver. And then Daniel Ricciardo, of course, when he was his teammate, was stronger here. And then at Ferrari, most of the time, he was stronger than his teammate. But in 2017, of course, when he won that Grand Prix, he had to start behind his teammate Raikkonen on the grid. So this is not a track that Sebastian normally absolutely aces. He does, I think, most of the time. But there are the certain occasions where Sebastian doesn't quite hit the mark for what he's looking for. As Charles Leclerc has done, is on a lap currently. His first sector, though, is not a personal best. He's actually gone slower than his personal best. As Sergio Perez has done a personal best first sector. Perez now on the soft compound tyre. Let's see what Perez can really do on that compound as Sebastian Vettel goes up to 9th place in the Aston Martin. Aston Martin and Alfa Romeo look about the same, or around about, in the same part of the grid, as George Russell goes up to 16th position in the Williams. Sergio Perez has not done a purple sector, which is not a surprise because I don't think Perez quite has the pace for that. Charles Leclerc improves his lap time to 1:11.5. Perez goes up to P4 on a 1:11.8. So Sergio Perez 4th, Lando Norris 5th, and the 2 Mercedes still down in 6th and 7th position. unless they can show something in these final 6.5 minutes, I don't think Mercedes are very confident of what they've got going into qualifying, because they don't look to me as good as the Ferrari and the Red Bull. I could easily be proven wrong, and I'm still predicting Lewis Hamilton will be on pole position because it's Lewis Hamilton. When he needs to produce, he will. But at the moment, I'd have to say it's looking, in terms of who has the better car, it looks more like Ferrari and Red Bull have a better car. In qualifying, though, as we've said, things can easily change. As Carlos Sainz now comes into middle sector on his flying lap, he's done a purple middle sector, half a tenth up on his previous best. Max Verstappen, though, even quicker and does a purple middle sector to upset Carlos Sainz there. As Sainz now comes through the final corner, opens the DRS a bit late, and now comes to the line, and Sainz does not improve his time. 0.02 of a second down on his previous best lap times. Max Verstappen goes P1 by half a tenth of a second on a 1 minute 11.294. So Max Verstappen P1, which he's done plenty of times in practice 3 during this season. Most of the time, though, despite being P1 in practice 3, has ended up not getting P1 in qualifying. So we'll see if he can, for the first time since Bahrain, actually translate that into legitimate pace when it actually matters. As Valtteri Bottas here is on a lap. He's done a green first sector, a green middle sector, which means personal best, but not the fastest of all. He's currently 0.3 of a second down on Max Verstappen after 2 sectors. And will now get a nice slipstream from the Haas car ahead as he comes to the line. And Bottas, well, he doesn't improve his final sector, probably held up a bit also for the Haas, but he goes up to 4th position, does Valtteri Bottas, about 4 3/4 of a tenth, or 3/4 of a second down. Let me try that again. 0.4 of a second down. I completely messed up saying that then. As Pierre Gasly goes up to 9th place. Sergio Perez does another lap but stays in 5th. Daniel Ricciardo has, I think, backed off on his lap through the middle sector. Probably held up again in traffic. But at the moment, with 3.5 minutes to go, it's Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Bottas, Perez, Norris, Hamilton, Raikkonen, Gasly, Vettel. And then Giovinazzi, Stroll, Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher has gone up to 14th position, which is interesting. And then it's Alonso, Mazepin, Russell, Latifi, Tsunoda, and Ocon. Where is the Alpine pace? 15th and 20th at the moment. I thought it'd be more like P10, P11, P12. That's where they would be. But they're nowhere near it right now. As we're looking at a Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who by the looks of it, and yeah, definitely by the way he exited the final corner before the tunnel, is on a flying lap. Has not improved, though, his first sector. We'll see what his middle sector is like. The middle sector really is the most important sector on the track, as he does a purple middle sector and he is a James Bond of a second up on the previous best middle sector that he has done. And now comes to the final corner. Anthony Noakes opens the DRS. No traffic ahead of him. And Max Verstappen does not go quicker. He misses out by 0.015 of a second. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Don't know who that is for. Oh, what a massive crash for Mick Schumacher. That's going to be a red flag and the session over. Through, that's the exit of Casino Square, right before the entry point to Mirabeau, and where the first sector time beam is. Red flag, and he's had an enormous crash, and that car is nowhere, is no chance of being ready for qualifying. So Mick Schumacher, I think we can already say, is out of qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix, which is so disappointing because he's currently up in 14th position, ahead of 2 Alpines, 2 Williamses, his teammate, and an AlphaTauri. But there you go. Mick Schumacher having a massive crash, and like I said, he's out of qualifying. There's no way the team can get that repaired. By the time they get it back, it'll probably be too late, because remember, they've got to get it back to the pits, which will take enough time, probably half an hour, 45 minutes. And yeah, he's, by the looks of it, I'd imagine on the right hand, so obviously you climb up the casino square after Saint Devote, you know, with that left-hander, then turns into that right-hander before you then head down to Mirabeau. What I'm going to guess is in that right-hander before you head down to Mirabeau. Can't remember the name of the corner right now, but I'm guessing he's hit the inside of that corner and then gone left into the barrier, because there's a lot of debris to the left in the Arnco barrier. So that I think he's done a Latifi here, as of course the session will not be restarted. I won't go as of yet. I'm going to wait to see a replay first. Hopefully they show it. Here we go. So yep, comes through, and no, he doesn't hit the inside barrier. He turns in, and the rear end comes round, and he hits the left-hand barrier again on that run down to Mirabeau. So that again proves, and actually does, I think, show that. I know we joke about Nikita Mazepin and all of that, but that Haas car at the rear end is so incredibly unstable that even Mick Schumacher, as you can clearly see there, struggles to keep a hand on it. So he is out, and he is out, I think, of qualifying with that. I'd be very surprised. And if they can get that repaired in time, then what a job by the Haas pit crew. But yeah, the session, guys, is now over. And with the session now being over, I can read you the final finishing order. So it's Max Verstappen, P1 going into qualifying, P1 in practice 3. Can he translate it for the first time since Bahrain into P1 in qualifying? And then the rest of the top 10, you've got Sainz in second, Leclerc third, Bottas fourth, Perez fifth, Norris sixth, Hamilton seventh, Raikkonen eighth, Gasly ninth, Vettel 10th. And then the rest of the order is Giovinazzi, Stroll, Ricciardo, Schumacher, Alonso, Mazepin, Russell, Latifi, Tsunoda, and Ocon. But guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, bottom right of the screen, or go to my channel page and do it there, and hit the notifications bell for when I go live in an hour and a half from now for the build-up and me covering qualifying itself, the qualifying watch-along. Make sure you guys are there. Also, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. Also a great place for notifications of my videos and streams, and very active. We have a lot of people in that server, almost 500 people, and it's plenty active during the year. So if you want to debate Formula 1 or motorsport in general with other people who are like-minded or not so like-minded, then make sure to join that Discord server. But guys, until the qualifying watch-along, which again will be getting underway in an hour and a half from now, with the session getting underway half an hour after. Until then, guys, it has been me, Chazza